Hello, Adit. How are you?
Hey Sanjay. I'm good. I'm doing good. Thank you for having me here. How are you doing?
It's a pleasure to have you here, and I am doing amazing. Never been better. I mean, it's super excited to be having this conversation because I've heard a lot about you
Oh well.
from multiple people. And when I was also going through the articles that you've written,
Yeah.
लोकी आई फेल्ट लाइक यार मैं क्या बात करूंगा इसमें दिस इज ऑल मैथमेटिकल थिंग्स
Uh-huh.
आई डोंट नो व्हाट आई विल टॉक अबाउट आई वाज लाइक thinking but
Okay.
I think it's quite because those are
Yeah.
the things that we don't talk about when we talk about
Hmm.
design where we
Yeah.
don't talk about that
Yeah.
so yes pumped and equally wondering what value I can add to this conversation because I think there's going to be a lot of information that is going to come from your way so I'm just absorbing this
Okay.
episode.
So, I'm also like pretty excited for it. I think there's nothing like having a good design conversation. So, really looking forward to it. And let's see, where it takes you because, design is like it's the main theme that we want to discuss about, but then there are so many
Yes.
connected fields to it. So, yeah.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So before we even get into that core conversation, I mean, as a candid question,
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody has ever asked you this, but see, you've been a design director at ServiceNow,
Yeah.
right, for a few years, and then you've worked with teams, etc. अगर किसी को डिजाइन डायरेक्टर बनना है like if somebody wants to become a design director क्या करना है what do they have to do?
See, there's a that's actually a very good question because I never thought about it. Ki, acha, if you want to become a design director, then what do you have to do? Because honestly
Right.
speaking, that was never like a goal or an ambition that one day
Hmm.
I'll become a design director or I dream to be a design director. I think it just happened as my career went along. But now that you've asked this question, and now if I think of it, I would say that first of all, the very base fundamental thing is that you have to be very good at your craft, right? You have to
Hmm.
really understand your craft and you should have a lots of good hands-on experience
Hmm.
because as a design leader, it's important that you set the example of what
Hmm.
good design is or what good craft is or what it looks like, what it feels like. That's very important. I think
Absolutely.
that's true for any leader in any field in any industry. Till the
Hmm.
time you're not hands-on, till the time you don't have that experience, you can't actually give like really valuable mentoring or feedback to your teams. So I think that's like step
Right.
one. Step two is really try to understand people. And I'm
Hmm.
by people I'm saying not just what we call as users, but
Hmm.
everybody around you. We talk a lot about empathy in the design world, but to be very honest, I have not seen it being practiced. Like when you are doing a job, right? Because sometimes you will say that, oh, my PM doesn't understand this thing, my engineer doesn't
Hmm.
understand this thing, but empathy, it begins at
Right.
home, right? You have to really
Yeah.
understand all the functions and what your PMs are expecting, what your engineers are expecting. So understand people and be a good human. I would say, I think
Hmm.
that's the ultimate thing, right? If you're a good human
Hmm.
and if you're good with your craft, I think then you can become a good leader. And I would say mentoring, especially in the design world, I have seen a lot of design mentors lately. But what I would say is that mentoring should come from your heart. It should not come from the place that you want to call yourself as a design mentor. Be a mentor if you genuinely want to help people uplift their craft and their career. And I would say if that is something that you truly believe in, then yes, I think you're all set to become a design director or a VP or a head of design because you have your craft
Right.
in place. You have put in that effort to love and understand people, and you really love helping people. I think a combination of all of that,
Hmm.
you can be a good design director.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. Take notes, guys. You really have to excel at everything, basically.
Yeah, I mean, just try to. I always say that don't do anything in which your heart is not there. As cliched as it sounds, but that's actually true. Don't do it just for attaining that goal of getting to a certain position. I think put your heart into it, and everything else will just follow.
So one more question, a follow up to this
Yeah.
is now there is the route that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Now a prerequisite could be educational qualifications
Hmm.
that people do look at when you want to climb up the ladder
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
corporate offices.
Yeah.
So should we take up masters in design, or should we take up MBA, or should we take up strategic design management, or what do we take?
Okay, I mean, so if you have looked over like my profile, I
Yes.
don't have a design degree as such, neither do I have MBA. I think I have
So
the most weird degrees for this position. One is in a BTech in petroleum engineering, and the another one is masters in philosophy.
philosophy,
Right?
yes.
So does not make any sense. So, but you know what? I would and don't advise people that you should not go for a degree. I think degrees are important in the sense that they give you a very structured way to understand things and learn things. So if you go for a bachelor's in design or a master's in design, you will have a very structured way to learn design, and also you will have that whole environment with you that will make you a good designer. Degrees help you do that. Degrees provide structure to your thinking, right? Degrees
Right.
provide you the right resources at the right time. One of the problems that an autodidact designer or an autodidact person or a self-learned person always faces is that you are a bit overwhelmed with all the information out there and you don't know like where to go first and where to go second, right? I mean, there's no fixed way to do it, and sometimes you do get lost. I think many of autodidact folks like me, we had to take like very different paths to know something which, if I had taken a degree, I would have known like perhaps in a faster way, right? So
Right.
I would still suggest that, yeah, go ahead with your degrees. There's no harm in getting degrees, but I would also say that degree should not be taken as a gatekeeping mechanism either, right? It should not be the fact that only if you have a degree that
Yeah.
you can apply for this job. I think that should not also be the case.
Right.
Degrees help you, amplify or, further solidify or concretize your knowledge, and it can give you that momentum to go for that job.
So people who are going for masters right now.
Yeah.
So now, because I am in touch with a few mentees who approach for some guidance, which master's degree should I go for? Because I am interested in design, but I also want to make sure that my, let's say, my ladder doesn't stop at senior designer.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So is how what role does a degree play there?
I mean, if you look at a typical like a corporate job description or a requirement, degrees can help you because there are still like more biases for degrees, but they can help you get that first interview. And let's say you have done your master's in interaction design or SDM, you will have perhaps that knowledge, which might be like a bit more or more informed than somebody who has done it themselves. It will get you through that interview, right? But then as far as going up the ladder is concerned, once you are in, it's all about what kind of work you are doing and how you are working with the team, and how much curious you still are about learning. I think what people often have seen, the mistake is that they'll complete a degree and they feel that the learning is like pretty much over, but it's never the case. I think you have to be a lifelong learner, and then you have to see that what appeals to you the most. I mean, there are people who really, as I said, like love helping people out, and these are the people who can really do good as managers. But there are also people who love their craft like really a lot, and they don't like things that comes with managing, and they can be really great like designers. They can go up the ladder as principal designer or even beyond that. I would also say that there is no one path to success. I think it's also a little bit of a myth that you should only go into the management side to go up the ladder. No, I mean, you can very well be an IC and go up to the role of a principal designer or become a distinguished designer, for example. I mean, there are distinguished designers in many big companies, and they are very much honored, and whatever they say is like highly respected and taken very seriously. So I think again, as it's all about really loving what you do, and then you can take any path. Degrees will help you get in, and obviously degrees will also help you. I mean, if you have learned something and if you have not forgotten and not done it just for the sake of getting a degree and you truly believed it,
Yeah.
then yes,
Yeah.
it is going to help you go forward in your career too.
Very, very well put up. And one thing that I would want to pull out from this response is that the curiosity that you mentioned and the
Yeah.
curious to learn more. And that's something that I've seen in your, like when I was going through everything that you've done and everything about you. So, like you are into coding, you're into design, reader, mathematics, and everything just feels like everything is like, super, what do you say, the brainy people would do.
Okay.
Something like that, if I have to put it that way, candidly. So
Yeah.
now I want to ask you a very silly question here. When you do so many things here, right?
Yeah.
And it shows that you're curious about different things and you want to know things.
Yeah.
Now, if you were to sit in an interview tomorrow,
Yeah. Yeah.
and if you were to introduce yourself,
Yeah.
like how would you introduce yourself?
Okay. Uh, See, again, I think that's another one of those questions, a curveball, I would say. Honestly, right, when I'm sitting in an interview, a job interview, I think I'll be also optimizing for that particular job that I'm really aiming for. So, to answer your question, if I'm sitting in a job interview, and let's say for another design director or anything like that, I would say that I'm a hands on design leader who can shape teams that are obsessed with delivering value, both for
Oh,
people and for
wow.
business. That's what I believe. That's what, as a design leader. But if you ask me just as an individual, without the constraints of getting that job, I would say that I'm a design led creator who is driven by philosophical ideas. So that's me as an individual.
Quite interesting. And yes, influence of philosophy again comes from, I think, your educational qualification as well, and then your explorations that
Yeah.
followed beyond that.
Yeah.
So there is always this urge to do something new, right?
Right.
And you're
Right.
curious, a philosophy,
Yeah.
there's constant questioning that happens,
Right. Right.
right? So
Yes.
how do you deal with that? Like, मुझे ये भी करना है, I want to do this
Yeah.
also, I want to do that also. So how do you
Yeah.
deal with that?
Honestly, it's hard. It's extremely hard.
Yeah,
I'll
I
be
know,
lying
right?
if I say that, I figured it out. Well, I've not figured it out. See, the thing is that I keep on getting that itch. And if you look back at my career, and if I look back at my career, you will see that every now and then I have taken some breaks to do something.
Yeah.
Because, I really get that itch that, okay, I want to do something. See, what happens is that when you're doing a job, obviously, as I said, you are delivering value to a company, and that's very, very important. But sometimes, as a creative, you want to do much more, and sometimes that itch becomes too strong for me, and then I feel that, okay, I think now I should perhaps, take a break, create
Right.
some things, and let's see where it takes me. So like right now I'm doing Bookstates, but before that I have done another startup, Function Space, that was in maths and science, and then there was UX Assist. So
Yeah.
this was all about, like scratching my own back kind of a thing, that, okay, I see something, I want to create something. Yes, that happens a lot. But even when I'm in a job, I always want to do something, either maybe, write about philosophy, or create some other small things here and there, because I think I cannot live without any sort of creation. I really
Right.
enjoy that. So I try my best that, what happens is that when you're doing a job, it becomes like really hard to get that time, especially when you are in a demanding job. If you're in a role of a director, I think most of your time goes into that, because you have large teams,
Yeah.
and it's very hard to, take out that time, especially if you're also like a family man.
Absolutely.
Your creativity cannot come at the cost of your family. So that's why, when I always believe that you have to be true to yourself, right? At any stage of life, if you're doing a job, and if you start feeling that थोड़ा सा मेरा अब दिल नहीं लग रहा है यहाँ पे, right? अब थोड़ा सा मुझे कुछ और करने का मन हो रहा है, I would say do
Right.
it, right? I would say my biggest fear is that, when your time comes, at
Huh.
some later age, right, when you are on your
Right.
deathbed and all of that, यार वो काश नहीं निकलना चाहिए, राइट? यार काश
Oh,
मैं वो कर लेता,
yes.
राइट? यार काश उस टाइम ऐसा हो जाता. I think that is my biggest fear. So, I've lived my life in a way that if I feel that I want to do something, I'll just go ahead and do something. What it requires is having some faith in yourself that ठीक है, अगर कुछ नहीं हो पाया तो चलो कुछ और कर लेंगे. But I would say that it's important that, you live your life in such a way that you are not killing your dreams. Yeah.
Wow. This is so strong and so impactful because वो जो काश की बात करें ना,
Yeah.
that is so impactful because I completely relate to it.
Yeah.
And I also relate to when you say that हाँ मुझे ये भी करना, like I want to do this, I want to do that also,
Yeah.
because it's and there is another overlap here between what I do and what you do also,
Yeah.
which I found out was the book thing, which we're going to talk about a little later in this episode.
Yeah.
But there's definitely, yes, curiosity and then leading to this urge to do
Yeah.
something and then
Yeah.
having no regrets
Right.
for
Exactly.
whatever, whatever the ideas we have.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is so important. Wow. If we had all the time that we can, put everything into the ideas, wow, it will be so beautiful.
Right.
I
Right.
know.
Sometimes I do think that, in olden days, medieval
Huh.
era, in
Huh.
Europe especially, right, there was this idea of patrons, right? So if you are
Yeah.
a sculptor or a painter, you would eventually find some patrons who will pay you so that you can have your livelihood and all.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
now
yeah.
you'll only do painting and sculpting. So sometimes,
Yeah.
ऐसा होता है ना, like a fantasy. यार थोड़े पेट्रन्स हो जाए तो मैं भी ना जिंदगी भर किताबें पढूं और लिखूं, एंड आई
Huh.
डू ऑल ऑफ दैट, राइट? सो
I know.
या
That would be beautiful though.
या या
Now, philosophy, curiosity, also, the core of it, if I have to put it, according to my understanding, a person should be open minded to be able to consider at least the other point of view,
राइट
or at least suspend what
राइट
I believe in currently to
राइट
reach a state of neutrality, so
राइट
that I am not judging what the other person is saying or the
राइट
other belief system is saying.
राइट
So, to do that, I want to connect that not to life but to AI,
ओके
because that is the current thing that is happening. And also, AI is not only in design, it is in other fields as well.
राइट
It's not that designers are the only ones who are getting affected,
राइट राइट
right? So, how does one go about this advancement and myths that are associated with AI scenario currently, right? So, how does one go about it? How does one be open minded about this
या
whole thing?
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's a very good question. See, the way I look at it, be it AI or be anything else, and we'll connect it to AI also, is that, first of all, you have to be patient and take some time to understand things. You will hear a lot about a particular technology or even particular set of people. I think that's when, you have to like really suspend your judgment. Don't arrive at conclusions too quickly. Really try to understand as many perspectives as you can, and then really try to understand what that technology is, or whatever you have heard about someone or somebody, right? I think it's no point that if you arrive at a conclusion very quickly, then what happens is that you will hear something and you will think of something, then tomorrow you will hear something else, and then you will flip to some other judgment. I would rather say that take your time to really understand things. Understanding is also, one of my core values, and I try as much as possible to really understand things before I really, try to arrive at any sort of conclusion. You have to give yourself that time. So even for I mean, it's a very, very rapidly moving technology today. The pace is something that we have actually not seen before in terms of other technologies, because other technologies had their own maturity curve, but AI, it's
Yeah,
almost like something new is coming every month. And you will
yeah,
see a lot of people talking about AI, that AI will take your jobs and AI will destroy
yeah,
this, AI will destroy that. I
yeah,
think these conclusions are premature, I can say, because nobody actually really knows where it's going to take you in terms of as far
yeah,
as jobs are concerned or careers are concerned, right? If a certain career gets impacted today, well, there might be another career which we don't even know about that might pop up tomorrow with AI. I would say really try to understand how AI fits in your skill set and how you can use AI to amplify it. That's what I would say. As far, so again, don't get panicked that AI will take over your job, your life, or anything like that. I would say really try to understand it, listen to many people. There are many experts out there. Then try to understand what AI actually is and how it can help you or assist you. See, I mean that so many we have seen so many technologies come and go, and people have evolved with it, right? It's not like there has been a destruction or anything. I think we should not go in a dystopian mode that something will destroy everything. No, I think it's more about evolution.
Yeah, I think that also means that there has to be constant check on what's happening
Yeah,
and following it as it evolves so that we sort of adapt to the change.
right, right.
So when we are talking about AI and the impact of it, as you said, that it is premature to even think or consider or reach to a conclusion.
Yeah.
I am recalling something that, somebody asked Sam Altman also, that, every time there's a new update coming out, people are building startups based on that. And then when the next one comes out, they're going out of business.
Yeah.
So how do we go about this? Like, what advice would you give to the people? And he said, you should not consider if it is about able to train till class 3, then build till that level and then wait for the next update.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
In one of the conversations I was listening. So,
Yeah.
sort of also, I think, like what you also mentioned right now, sort of the same lines where, you have to keep yourself updated and follow it. Don't reach to conclusions just as yet.
Right. See, I would say that to what you just mentioned. I mean, we as humans always look for opportunities, right? When we say see some new model update and we see a new opportunity, people will just go ahead and build things. I think there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Yeah.
And it's okay that if the next update comes or if and that kind of disrupts your plan, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can pivot, not the end
Yeah.
of the world. So I think adapting is, I think, the most critical thing, that you have to adapt with changing times, changing technologies, and you have to be curious about it. Don't have a deterministic approach towards technology. Or in fact towards anything, if I can say that, because deterministic approach, if you have that, you become stagnant, and then anything which is stagnant is prone to become stale over time, right? So I would say that have a more probabilistic attitude towards life and towards technology, and then evolve with it.
Interesting. And we see a lot of people using AI for ideation these days. Quite a
Yeah.
lot of people use it. I think that's the first thing that people use it for.
Yeah.
As far as I
Yeah.
understand, is that
Right.
okay? Array, let's see what ChatGPT says. Let's
Yeah.
ask ChatGPT. Let's ask this.
Right.
Let's ask that. Right.
Right.
So a lot of emphasis on ideation for that,
Right.
and
Right.
then because it opens you up, and then you sort of diverge,
Yeah.
converge into things, and then you take a decision. In one of the articles that you'd written, I had come across something that said, I'm failing to recollect which particular article this was, but you'd mentioned that, spending time in contexts brings up ideas, right?
Yeah.
Which are good ideas, which are
Right.
like the really good ones.
Right.
But we are not in contexts all the time.
Mm.
We are sitting in our office spaces.
Right.
We are at our desk,
Right.
conference rooms, board meeting rooms, and all of
Right.
that.
Right.
So does that mean that all the ideas that we generate sitting in these glass houses,
Yeah.
are they all not really that good?
See, I think if an idea is good or not, ultimately people who are using your app will tell you with time. But yeah, I do believe, I am a big proponent of, I mean, in user research, we do contextual inquiries, right? I'm a big proponent of that. I do believe that you should give that, or devote that time and energy to spend time in that context and really try hard to get that. I think it's very, very important, because only when you spend some time in that environment that you really try to understand it. It's not that if you are unable to do that, you will not be able to do anything. But as I said, right, the probability of you going wrong might be like a little one notch higher than if you like really go and try to understand things in context. So even when I'm working on my current app, I did go to so many bookstores out there to really understand how people are browsing and what they are saying and how actually are they going about selecting books and all of that. Because it's when you become that fly on the wall, you really get an understanding of what people are actually doing. Because what happens is that, let's say you do user interviews, well, another good method, but what people say might not actually be always true than what they do. Doing a
Hmm.
contextual inquiry or going in that environment or in that context, you really see
Absolutely.
people in action, right? And
Yeah.
that gives you insights into, what we call as latent needs, right? Latent
Hmm.
needs is that nobody's saying it, right? But
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
observe and you understand.
Right.
Evident needs is something which people say. I think true innovation comes when people, build on latent needs. And this, I
Hmm.
think, comes mostly, if not
Hmm.
entirely, of you being in a certain context.
Hmm. Quite interesting. I
Yeah.
think this is where also I would want to touch upon the design debt concept
Hmm.
here,
Yeah.
because we're talking about needs now,
Right. Right.
right? Evident and latent.
Yeah.
So I would like you to share a little bit about that
Yeah.
also, because I feel in terms of we design for a purpose.
Yeah.
Like there is a purpose, there has to be a purpose,
Right.
otherwise it's not design,
Right.
right? So in this current scenario,
Yeah.
when again I will try to plug in here about the advancements
Hmm.
in terms of AI hardware
Hmm.
that will come up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money moving in here and there, we're noticing.
Yeah.
So in that case, because we don't know what it is going to look like, what it
Right.
will be like,
Right.
right? So do we really know what we're designing for in the current situation? And the concept of design debt here,
Hmm.
the needs here, the evident needs, the latent needs. So
Yeah.
how does that add up?
Okay, so I can, touch upon the design that part first,
Hmm.
and then we can, connect it to how AI is evolving. So I believe that, what is design debt? It's about when your interface or whatever your medium you're offering to people to get their job done is not adequately meeting the needs, right? There is a certain delta between needs and what the interface or whatever the design medium is delivering.
Right.
And that's when you start accruing design debt, right? So and
Hmm.
it can be for any number of reasons, right? So for example, that it's not feasible technologically, or you don't have time or something. There might be a number of factors for which you cannot. I'll just use the interface now. So let's say you can't deliver on that interface due to certain reasons, so you have started accumulating certain design debt now because you're not actually meeting those needs. So let's say that there are certain user needs, or there might be also business needs, and the interface is not able to fulfill that because of certain reason, then you have started accumulating design debt. So what happens
Hmm.
is that, so I wrote an article called as needs an interface. I'll just kind of touch base
Yes.
on that.
Yes. Yes.
Let's take example of what the classic enterprise problem. So what
Hmm.
happens is that these are complex softwares, right? Because there's a complex underlying business logic, and there are so many different user needs and business needs, and the use case itself is non-trivial. So
Hmm.
let's say when an enterprise company starts working on a certain interface to solve such a complex problem, they come up with an interface, and when the product was launched, perhaps it was
Hmm.
meeting those user and business needs.
Right.
But what happens is that it's also the nature of the enterprise industry that updates are not taken directly by users because of compliance reasons or regulations, or there are so many other factors involved there. Over time, the needs have changed, but the interface
Hmm.
has not changed, right? And that's what we start then calling as a legacy software. And
Yeah.
I think any company out there, be it Google, Microsoft, or any other company, they all
Yeah.
have like certain legacy software to them. So when we say legacy, it means that there has the design that has been accrued because the needs have evolved a lot, but your interface is
Hmm.
like still pretty much stagnant. And what we talked about, stagnant and then being stale,
Yeah.
is what happens when the interface is not evolved, but the needs have evolved. So
Right.
this is where the design that has accrued a lot. So the sometimes the only way out is to do a redesign, right? That now a redesign means that whatever interface you are going to offer will now match whatever needs are. I
Yeah.
think good software companies, what they try to do is they try to evolve the interface or the application as the needs are evolving. It's easier said than done, especially in the enterprise world, because as I said, there are too many factors at play there. But companies do that, and that's how, I would say that you start minimizing the design debt. I think every company will have some design debt at some point or the other. I think the main question is that have you made like a mountain of it, or is it something which is like still manageable, right? I think now connecting it to AI, right? It's very hard to say what sort of design debt you might be accumulating, because things are changing, things are moving so fast that it's really even hard to play catch up. Again,
Right.
especially if you're dealing like in the enterprise world with like huge big softwares that are used by so many of your customers, it's not easy to just quickly evolve the software, because
Right.
there are so many other dependencies associated with it, right? So I think with AI, I don't think there's one single answer that how can you minimize design debt, especially if you're a big enterprise company. Yes, I mean, if you're a software company who can afford to evolve very rapidly, that's fine. So let's say that we came up with agentic AI, and then everybody started moving
Yeah.
agentic AI, and then there was MCPs, right, the model context protocols, and so there are some companies who adopted it pretty fast, right?
Right.
Building agentic AI systems to going to MCP, so they are like at cutting edge of things, but not every company can afford to do that, right? So technically speaking, they might have accrued some certain design debt, but that's not really the case, right? It totally depends on the context in which you are operating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is uncertainty, right? There
Yes.
is uncertainty, there is evolution that's happening.
Yeah.
And then there's, in every industry, there is like a new phase,
Yeah.
right? Every industry is going through change.
Yeah.
Design might be at the forefront of the burn, that
Mm.
maybe because everybody else is able to create what we usually take, projects as projects and create. Maybe people are doing that, but other industries are also equally facing the heat.
Yeah.
Now, in this context, I'm a little curious about your journey,
Okay.
because if, considering all of this, if anything, for a person at your position in a company like that, right? You were at ServiceNow. How did this whole scenario make you, or I don't know if it motivated you,
Mm.
okay, to start building Bookstates,
Yeah.
to start something on your own?
Yeah.
So I want to know about that.
Okay. I'll have to think about phrasing it properly. Okay. So ServiceNow, I mean, it's a big company, and I've all loved working there. Worked there for close to 6 years, and they are also adopting AI and evolving with it. But ServiceNow being a very mature business, as I said, they can't just go ahead and claim that will now build the cutting edge things, and we'll
Yeah.
fly with the times. They are trying to do that very well, but then the fact is that they have such a huge customer base, and being in the enterprise industry, compliances, regulations, everything is there, so they are moving at their own pace, at a good pace, I would say. But then I felt that I also want to do a bit more. I want to really get my feet wet where the world is moving with AI and whatever is happening around me. So you can say that I started to get a bit impatient about it. That I really want to build something now. And at the same time, I have this like big affinity with books, like since ever, right? And I think my background must also speaks about it.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
so many books out there. So I felt that what can I do where something that I can love, I can enjoy, and also start playing with AI. So that's how Bookstates evolved. Very simple, again, catching my own itch. Think that I really wanted something where you can have a deeper connection with books and how you evolve with books. So what I felt is that most of the solutions out there, either they are very simple like reading tracker, or they have like some social angle to it. But I felt that there's this philosophy, right? And that's why I feel that philosophy drives what I try to do.
Yeah.
And I felt that whatever you consume shapes you as a human. What if there is something that can assist you in that when it comes to books? So now we have AI here, and I felt that if you can provide good context to AI, I think it can help you build deeper connection with books and how you are evolving with books.
Okay.
So I think with AI, it's not just about data, but then how through data, you can understand patterns, and from patterns, how you can get some insights, right? And I think
Right.
that's what AI can help you do that. And hence, I thought that, maybe, let me try it out with Bookstates to build that, deeper connection, and AI can help you do that.
It's interesting. Now I have so many questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay. So, starting with the risk that you've taken,
Yeah.
very calculated at your part, and also to chase the curiosity,
Yeah.
the urge to do
Yeah. Yeah.
something more, right, with your time. So, yes, completely understood because you felt it, you've taken it,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you work towards this decision also, that okay, I'll
Yeah.
be taking this, so I have to work in that direction,
True.
right? So one interesting question is, which as an author I also get asked, is that last year I published my book, which was called Introduction to Design, and so many
Yeah.
people asked me that why did you write a book in this
Mm-hmm.
time? Are people really reading books?
Mm.
They have shorter attention spans.
Mm.
They cannot go beyond 10 seconds.
Mm.
And, like they want it at the flip of their fingers.
Yeah.
So, why write a book? So, that was one question that I always got.
Mm.
And I had my own answers to it.
Yeah.
Yes, it was for the need,
Mm.
etc. There was no book like this, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But here we're talking about a decision where
Yeah.
you've left a job
Yeah.
and then you're building something completely based out of books,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
So the readers of today,
Yeah.
that whole thing, right? The book reading, how will it evolve, right? How do you think that it will evolve with the current transformations? And there are these behavioral changes that have come up in
Mm.
us.
Mm.
S- And how are you incorporating that into book states?
So the way let's cover it in two parts, right? One is
Yeah.
like the decision of going ahead with it, and then what you have asked about like books and how I
Hmm.
see it evolving. So first of all, yes, I mean, there are new, I mean, technologies now, attention spans have, gone down. But at the same time, if you look at some other stats, right, the book sales are also going through the roof, has improved. And, I think I remember that, I think about 2 decades back, or maybe more than that, when Kindle came onto the scene, there were many articles saying that it's the death of, physical books and
Yeah.
bookstores and all of that. Nothing like that happened. In fact, now it's all towards the upwards trend, and I'm like so delighted to even say that there are so many book communities which have come
Oh,
up in
yes.
recent years, right? Hyderabad has its own, and have attended them, and they are actually mostly all filled up with young folks, right?
Yeah.
And it's such a delight to see that. So I would say that books are not going anywhere. I mean, books will be here. Yes, I mean, one can claim that statistically speaking the attention span have gone down, but it's not that people are not reading books, right? You will even see that more and more indie bookstores are now coming up,
Hmm.
and they get a lot of support from people out there. So yes, I mean, books are here, and I think I don't see them going anywhere. Yeah, there are some new mediums now. You can listen to audiobooks and you can read on Kindle, but then I
Yeah.
think books are here, very much here to stay. And I strongly believe that. Now, as far as Bookstates is concerned, I think I'm not trying to attach Bookstates to any new medium of consumption of information. There are many apps already out
Hmm.
there which say that,
Hmm.
we'll give you a 2-minute summary of the book or a 10-minute summary of the book, and you
Yeah.
can, quickly go through it. But that is like just from a personal perspective. It's a little bit against my philosophy that, let's say there's a 300-page book or a 500-page book, and somebody says that you get a 10-minute summary, and
Yeah.
like this you can have like read 100 books in a month or something like that. I
Yeah.
don't think that you're actually reading those books, right? Maybe
Yeah.
you are hoarding certain information which will very soon get lost. But when you actually go through a 300, 500-page book, right,
Hmm.
you evolve your thoughts with every page that you turn, right? I mean, and that's the
Right.
beauty of books, right? You are living through those ideas when you consume a book,
Hmm.
right? So that a 10-minute or a 20-minute summary will not give you, right? It will just tell you what the book is about, but you will never feel connected to that book, and those ideas will not get inside you. When I said that, I believe that what you consume shapes you, well, then the consumption has to be, in a way that really enriches your mind, right? It should not become a fast food equivalent, right? We all know that fast food is not healthy. They are not healthy for a reason, right? It's
Right,
fast food,
right,
right? Similarly, anything which is like fast consuming, like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, summary and all, yeah, I mean,
right.
you can claim that you have, read through so many books, but might not be like so healthy for your mind, right? So the book states, I mean, the whole philosophy of book states is that you take a book and it's actually meant for more for physical books than for digital books. You can still track your digital books, but then more for physical books, right? You can have your reading sessions, you
Yeah.
can have your reading progress, and then you can get some data and patterns and insights for that. So my whole idea is that you become a more reflective reader with book states, and I think that's the
Right.
main aim of it.
I think very well summarized. Reflective reader. Because when I was going through book states, I felt like it was more of a reader personality could be gauged through, depending on whatever the person has read, and or
Yeah.
there was also a feature where you could add to your, was it a galaxy sort of, or a constellation sort of a
Mood
thing where you had
constellation, yes,
mood
yes,
constellation. Yeah,
yeah,
that
yeah.
was so intriguing. I mean, this is really interesting because tells about the kind of books I'm reading, the kind of, and then there are so many overlaps. Then that's when I started thinking about, okay, whatever I have read so far, although I'm not that much of a reader, like not an avid reader, but yeah, but I keep consuming information through reading also.
Right.
So it's quite an interesting thing. And again, like you said, as a reflective reader, again, I'm sure that you would have seen this as a need for sure, because you're designing for it, you're making for it, building for it, right?
Right. Yeah. So it's more of a latent need, which has come up, when we just casually discussing about books. That when people usually say that I read that book and it changed me, or I read these books and it changed me as a person. That's when you realize that is there an opportunity to be more intentional about it, right? So what happens is that in book states, if you have read a couple of books, you can see your archetype, whether you are a
Oh,
seeker, or it will tell you, right, what kind of reading personality you have, and then you can evolve through it. There's also something called as, expand your shelf, and it also surprised me, right, because it tells you your biases. So it told, so for me, when I did that, it told me that, dude, you are like, most of your 80% of your books are by white male, and where
interesting fact.
right? And you know what? Honestly, I was not even aware, because you just
Yeah.
pick a book and you read through it, and then it told me that where is the female voice, where is the female perspective, where are African perspectives or Asian perspectives, and why haven't you, like, let's say, tried some poetry? And
Oh,
then it
wow.
suggested me certain books, right? So I was like, okay, let me try that. And since then, I have invested more of my time in reading female perspectives and reading, about East Asian or Asian literature or African literature, right? So it's
Very
basically
nice.
expanding your horizons,
Yeah.
and you ultimately, that reflective reader, and that's what you become with book states, right? So that's the whole idea. I think it's more of a philosophical software, if you can call that. That's the ultimate aim. Yeah.
I think this again ties back to what you said, like be a good human first. I think
Right.
once you know the different perspectives,
Right.
you're bound to consider those things. And
Right.
whenever you take a decision or maybe
Right.
behave some way, a certain way with people.
Right. I think, ultimately, I believe that it's not that people are like cruel or evil.
Yeah.
There are some people like that, but most of the time people are not even aware, right? I mean, they are not aware of their biases. They don't even know that they are saying something wrong or doing something wrong. It's lack of awareness, and it can be for n number of reasons, right? I always believe that if there is any person, if there is any book, if there is any tool that can help you become more aware, I think that's something that you should always look forward to. And I think that we can also connect to, well, having degrees. What happens when
Yeah.
getting a good degree is that you go in that environment where there are more like-minded people, and you become more aware about things. I think that's the key advantage, that the whole environment is such that your awareness goes to another level. So
Yeah.
that's why, I believe that having a degree is like always good. that way.
Very well summarized. And I mean, I think the philosophical angle to it, it just shows through in so many ways in your answers. And it's so well put. It's like, oh, wow, this is beautifully phrased. This is very well
Thank you.
communicated.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's what happens is at a certain stage, philosophy becomes like just your way of life, because you keep on thinking about it, and it just comes naturally. It's like sometimes you don't even put in that effort. So
So I have a couple of more questions
yeah,
today.
sure. Yeah,
So, book states your work in ServiceNow and your professional journey. All through this moment, you have worked in teams, you have worked in
yeah,
leading teams,
right.
right? And now you also understand that there are people who justify different roles,
Yeah,
right? And looking at right now, as of now, I'm not talking about the future, you're going solo with book states, right?
right, right.
Right. So this is a contradiction to
Hmm.
what you've done so far.
Right, right.
So I want to talk about this a little bit here.
Okay, so like I have a like an honest confession. So it's not like I have not gone solo before. Like
Right.
for my previous two startups, I mean, it was also solo. But it's the hardest this time, and I'm feeling it. Honestly, before that, when I started Function Space back in 2012, I was like in IC,
Hmm.
and then after UXSS, I just came through the journey of a founder. But
Hmm.
this time, after leading a big team at ServiceNow and being, working with teams, especially for the past 10 years, like
Hmm.
at PayPal and ServiceNow, I felt that it's harder to go solo because, there's nobody to like really bounce off ideas and have a good conversation about it, think deeply about it. And sometimes it's just plainly hard also because, when sometimes things
Hmm.
don't go your way and it
Yeah.
gets hard, it's very easy to go down a downward spiral like pretty fast, right? Because, well, there's nobody around you, right? Honestly, it's always good that you have like a co-founder or somebody with you, and
Yeah.
it's always good that way. And if I'm not wrong, even YC, kind of, suggests you that have a co-founder. Well, right now I'm solo, and yes, it's hard. It's just that, I'm like in constant touch with my like team at ServiceNow. I bounce off ideas with them whenever I get an opportunity, and they have also given me feedback, and that's how I'm living through it. But it's undeniably hard, right?
Hard.
Very hard, right?
Yeah.
Not that easy when you are going through this journey. But then it's a call that I took, and well, that's fine. So I think it's part and parcel of this journey.
The
Yeah,
path that you've chosen.
yeah,
And we also talked about the risk, like calculated risk, right? Do you
right.
think that current generation lacks the appetite for risk?
Oh wow! I mean, it's up to. I mean, I can't. My perspective might be very limited to what I'm
Hmm.
seeing around me. I think people are still taking risks. I know some folks, just out of college and decided to do a startup rather than, going for a
Right.
corporate job or anything like that. If I look at just my limited perspective, sometimes I do feel what you said, that maybe, not people are taking risk, or like
Hmm.
maybe they are little bit over optimizing for a comfort life. But I think that
Hmm.
might not be true, because as I said, right, I'm just looking at like a
Hmm.
very small set of people. But the bigger generation, I mean, if you speak of a generation as a whole, I think quite a few
Yeah.
people are still taking those
Hmm.
risks.
Yeah.
I always believe that it's my perspective that taking risk, it's a very Boolean thing in terms of situation, right? So I feel that you either take a risk when there's nothing to lose, right? You are at that situation or circumstance in your life that you just take a risk. But most of the time, I think that risk taking is a privilege,
Hmm.
in the sense that you have financially, you can take a risk, you have a family who supports that risk, you have friends
Yeah.
who support you, and you don't, let's say, have any dependencies, and you take
Hmm.
a risk, right? So I think it becomes a little bit factor of a privilege. I can at least say
Yeah.
it about myself here, that I have, well, thankfully, a supportive family,
Hmm.
friends, that I decided to take that risk. So that way, it's not that everybody might be in a position, somebody, might have to
Hmm.
take care of elderly or parents, and
Yeah.
they might not, it's not like they are risk averse people, but it's
Right.
just that circumstance right now is not giving them that, affordance to take a risk.
Right,
Uh,
right.
so I think, when we look at risk taking abilities, we have to just look at from that lens or perspective that. So that's why, it's very hard to say, like, in a generic way, if people are risk taking or not.
That makes a lot of sense, considering what the situations and
Yeah.
people have different situations and
Right.
contexts, right? Yeah, that's very well said. So, on a closing note to the designers right now, and who are, let's say, in early on in their careers and
Yeah.
who are planning to switch maybe
Mm-hmm.
a few years in the journey and then they want to switch to different company, etc. So oftentimes there is this question that, okay, should I, like, I am using AI in my process, like the way I use it, the way it makes sense.
Hmm.
And of course, this comes also taking into consideration the point that you mentioned that you would customize your responses for that particular company or
Hmm.
for that
Hmm.
job interview, etc.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
keeping all of that
Hmm.
as default that the person is doing everything, there will be times that we get overwhelmed by all of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
To do
That's
this constantly is not easy,
right.
right? And then we feel powerless
Hmm. Hmm.
and hopeless. Okay, I want to do this, I know what to do, but maybe not today, I'm
Hmm.
just, I just don't feel like doing it, or
Yeah.
it's too much to
Right.
do.
Right.
So the psychological aspect of it is there.
Right.
So
Right.
a few thoughts on that before we
Yeah.
close this episode.
Well, Sanjay, I'm so glad that you brought this up, right? I can understand this feeling of getting overwhelmed, and especially, let's say, when you are in those formative years of your career and you see so much changing
Yeah.
at such a rapid pace and so many things around you, and then, existential crisis from all the noise that you hear from social media, right?
Yeah.
See, I would say this thing that it's not required that, you try to attempt everything at the same time. I think it's okay to take things at your own pace. It's fine. It's not like tomorrow the world will get over. No, fine. You can take things at your own pace. The only thing I would say is that just keep some momentum, but at the same time, try to enjoy things, right? I think there's no point just slogging it out if you're not enjoying it, right? I always believe that there has to be some element of joy. Yes, there are days in which you push yourself a bit, but it should not be to the extent where you break yourself, right? I mean, there are times in your life when you really need that job, and that job demands that you know about AI, you have played with AI, and you've not played it before, so you will begin with that sense of getting overwhelmed. But I would say take one day at a time, like just breathe, take a maybe 1 hour out, right? You might already be in a job or might have some other responsibility. Just take that 1 hour, and just try to understand things. Take one day at a time is what I feel, and go ahead from that. I think people, sometimes discount how much progress we can make if we just devote like some little time in a day. It's not
Yeah.
necessary to, eat it up altogether. That's when that sensation of getting overwhelmed comes from. And honestly, I also get that. Sometimes I'll be lying if I say that I don't get it, because there's so much around that you feel that, oh, I mean, I have only one life and all of that comes in. What I would just say, just breathe, just relax, go out, have a walk, go with your
Yeah.
friends, right? Just have like a little bit of time devoted to that, a little bit of discipline with that, and just persist through it. And I think things will ultimately go your way. I would say, so don't try to run very fast or let other people move. You are not falling behind. There's nothing like that. Everybody goes at their own pace. You will do well. Just ensure that you keep that momentum. And by keeping that momentum, I don't say that, you have to necessarily, sit for 3 hours a day. No, I mean, it's okay. You sit today, tomorrow it's not possible, but you sit another day. Just don't lose that momentum and just keep on, doing things. And I think things will ultimately fall your way. I would say it's just about keeping that balance moving forward with your journey.
I think that's going to be a big takeaway for me as well. One step at a
One step
time.
at a time. Yes, just one step at a time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. It was a lovely conversation, Adit, with you, and I thoroughly enjoyed this. And I'm really eager to see how Bookstates shapes up moving forward because it's very interesting, and not many people would think about the books as you are thinking, is
Yeah.
what I feel. And I'm sure it'll be interesting to see what the outcome of your this decision turns out
Yeah.
to be. Yeah, I'm really curious to know that.
Thank you, Sanjay. And you know what? I really enjoyed this conversation too, by the way, right? We
Thank you.
just discussed, right? Being a solo founder, I can't tell you how
Yeah.
much I value a conversation now. So this was a really, really good conversation. Really, we had like a really good discussion about so many topics. And
Yeah.
yes, for book states, I'm just trying to do my best. Outcomes, we'll see. I think, what I really like in life is a certain element of surprise and serendipity that, comes with building things and
Yeah.
the best thing is when life surprises you well in
Yeah.
thankfully in a positive way. So yes, I mean, and I think book states will need all your love, so I'm also looking forward to this journey.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you so much, Adit.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks,
All the
Sanjay.
best.
Yes, thank you.